What's going on, everybody? Today is Wednesday, and this is the Wednesday show. I'm your host, Mike Killy. With me, as always, my co-host, Mike Ristano. You can find him at Bonzo1273 on Twitter. You can find me at Mike Killy. And today is another day in the offseason. We're really getting closer to the Super Bowl. There's more Senior Bowl stuff to talk about. There's many more things in the world of OBJ and Jarvis, and where is everybody with everything and all the drama related issues around the Cleveland Browns. And we're going to also do another mock draft to see where we are going into it. And I actually thought, Mike, this week would be fun. Because I think did I pick last week, or did you pick last week? You picked.
It was me. I went Kenny Pickett, and
yes, that's right.
I've got some. It's not inside information. It's just what's been being said since the Senior Bowl, and it's interesting. Let's put it this way: it doesn't make what we did seem too silly.
Wow, Tyrone, what's going on? See you in chat. Hey. So I thought it'd be interesting if I'm going to do the picks this week, if maybe you pick, like we'll pick two teams. You pick the Steelers. I'll pick the Browns.
Oh God!
Now it doesn't have to be crazy. I just want to have an idea of maybe, or I'll tell you what, you can pick the Steelers or the Ravens. You decide. You decide what you want to do. You want to be Sashi, or
I'll be maybe Louis Riddick. Well, no. What is it? Colbert is there GM for one more draft, and then the rumor is Louis Riddick is going to take over that spot. Which, hey, please do, because I don't think that he will be a very successful GM.
Well, it'll be a fun one. So we'll do something a little bit different tonight. But yeah, I mean, just kicking it off in terms of, by the way, I listened to the whole show with it when you were on with Rob, and his brother.
Oh yeah. With Rod Bloom.
Yeah. So, good show. I thought it was a good show. And it's these off-season podcasts, it's like, you got to fill it. You got to fill the time. You got to give the people what they want. So it was really good.
Yeah, it was pretty cool going over the offensive line, and then the entire defense. I think we got through, and free agents. So yeah, it was a cool little experience. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, they seem like they're good guys. I've been a follower of Rod for a while on Twitter there, so it was cool to sit there and listen. I tried to listen to the whole show in the car ride back from Tampa. My wife's like, "We're not listening to the whole show on the ride back. That ain't happening." And I was like, all right, well, just give me at least while we're ordering food at McDonald's on the way home. She's like, fine, but after this it's off. And I was like, I really just wanted to get a gauge of how your mic setup sounded on a different show. Right. So I was like, it started off and I was like, Mike sounds great.
It's funny because Jeremy is his first name. I can't think of his last name, but he had messaged earlier on Twitter. He had reposted Rod's podcast, and I can't remember how I think I said thanks for listening or something like that, and he was like, "Yeah, man, it sounded really clean." I'm like, "That's funny you say that," and and I went through how I got the new setup for Christmas, and Rod had said the same thing. He's like, because I had mentioned in the tweet, that I was on the Blue Yeti before, which I thought sounded really good, and then I got on this thing, and it's like, wow. And Rod was like, yeah, he's like, you sounded much better than my Blue Yetis, and I was like, yeah, it's a little pricey of an upgrade, but
yeah,
I mean, you could definitely tell the difference. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And besides in the Brownie post game universe, some stuff that was going on this week. We had Jarvis Landry pop into a OBJ interview and wish him luck, and I think all of this drama is it's got to end at some point. Who cares anymore? OBJ's not on the team anymore. Jarvis and him are best friends. They've always been best friends. We've known it the whole time, obviously, and it's never been a problem. And Jarvis is Whether he's going to be a Cleveland Brown next year or not, it doesn't really matter at this point anymore. And I think at the end of the day, if I had to say to Jarvis anything, I would say I appreciate you for what you did for the Browns in turning it around after our horrible seasons, and really changing the culture for this team and being a an avenue of change, right, for this organization. We really need it. And then for whatever reason, when OBJ got here and it didn't turn out the way that we all had hoped, greatly had hoped, and going and kind of siding with OBJ, at least that what we see, I think some have speculated, right? I don't blame him for that. It's fine if that's how he's going to go. He's going to be a friend of OBJ's way longer than he's going to be a Cleveland Brown, and he doesn't really have any other thing to do with the city of Cleveland. He's done everything he could, and I think that's fine. So everybody, I'm ready to let it go personally, but I did want to bring it up just because I know it was starting to. It was a slow week of Browns news, and it was like, Jarvis and OBJ. Let's put that all over Twitter. So I don't know if you had any thoughts on that, but that's kind of like my final thoughts on the piece with Odell and Jarvis.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you and I were talking about it the other day. I don't like the way that it went down, and we've all talked about that. But at the same time, they could have found a way to make it work, I believe. But at the end of the day, the front office felt like it was time, and we knew earlier in the offseason that there were the rumors out there that he had requested a trade. I had heard that through my sources, and it proved to be accurate. So they I feel, I mean, they knew what they were losing in terms of production, in terms of blocking and receiving. And even though he didn't have, we'd been at this ad nauseum, but even though he wasn't the OBJ that we're seeing out in LA, teams had to account for him, and he was still, making plays here and there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ultimately, if there wasn't that back history and what have you, that they probably would have just sucked it up and made it work and would have played out the year. But that wasn't the case. And, I know the Browns have gotten dragged for, the past week and a half, and really, in the grand scheme of things, that shouldn't be the case, because again, to what I just said, I mean, Andrew Berry could have said, look, you're under contract, you're a Cleveland Brown, and suck it up, Buttercup, because you're not going anywhere. You're playing it out and onward and upward. And he didn't do that, right? He made sure that he made the best decision contract wise for the Browns, and then also, to help him go where he wanted to go. So, it's kind of weird to me, all the hate that the Browns have been getting. Marshall Faulk was the latest earlier today, but they should actually, be looked upon as a place that, hey, you know what, that those are some good dudes to work for. Look what they did, for OBJ. But
Mhm.
as far as the game goes, and you and I were talking about this the other day. I don't. I'm not a root for a team in your division. I just can't do it, especially obviously when it's the Steelers, it's sick, and them in their stairway to 7 that they're trying to get to, and then you've got the Ravens, who have 2 now, and that was us, whether we want to rehash it or not, and then you've got us, who've never been, and then you've got the Bengals that are going there for, I think this is the 3rd time, and it's bad enough that they've been there, but now if the Bengals go ahead and they win a Super Bowl, I mean, now we're at the mercy of trash talking from all 3 teams in our division, right? So for me, I'm not ready to deal with that. I can't, and I would rather take the lesser of 2 evils. And hey, at the end of the day, if he goes out and he wins a Super Bowl with LA, more power to him. I mean, he found a way to get out of a situation that let's be honest. I mean, as bad as it was for us, I mean, it was just as bad for him. So, he found a way to get out. He did. He found a place where he's successful on the football field, and his off the field, endeavors. He's in the best place that he can be for that. So, yeah, I'm not.
So I have some
It is what it is.
I have some thoughts on a couple of these things. I think number one, if you look at even that article or that interview that happened with OBJ where Jarvis came in, I looked at the comments below it because the NFL, I think it was NFL.com or somebody, it was like some big, mainstay NFL source was the one who tweeted out the interview. And the vast majority, I would say 80% of the sentiment was negative from Browns fans who were like hopping onto it saying really about how Odell was telling free agents not to come to Cleveland. So I think here's the deal. He got himself, I think one of the things that Odell's not going to, maybe he doesn't understand or maybe he doesn't care. It's the other thing too. He may not care. He's got more money than God. He's got the fame. He's got all the stuff he wants. Maybe he doesn't care what the perception is of him, but I think deep down everybody kind of does. And to go, there's winning, and then there's how you win. Like nobody's ever going to put an asterisk behind the Super Bowl ring that Von Miller could win, right? But I think and people will congratulate him, be like, hey, you made a great move. I don't know, did he get traded there, or was he signed as a free agent? Von Miller.
Yeah, he got traded in the middle of the year.
He got traded. So it's like that or Matt Stafford going there. I mean, these are guys that went there and helped them win the Super Bowl, right? Or potentially. But I think with Odell, the situation was different. It was almost like, for me, it gives me a very similar feeling to when LeBron left Cleveland and made his decision. It's not the same exact thing, but it kind of on that line. Whereas I think on the flip side of things, when Tom Brady left New England and came down to Tampa, there's a lot of people in New England that were rooting for Tom Brady. And I think there's a lot more New England people that were thanking Tom Brady for what he did and who he was than people that were in Cleveland rooting for LeBron necessarily. I could be wrong there too. I know there's a lot of people. Basketball's a little different because it's like very much more of a solo, type sport. But I think my point is with this thing with Odell, I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of people that are going to be outside of LA, or outside of maybe some people from LSU, or outside of those like celebrity worshiping type fans. How many people are really out there going to be happy that he won, as opposed to like the Detroit fans that are going to be happy that Stafford won? Or the Broncos fans are going to be happy that Von Miller won, right? There's a thing. And I think on top of it, it's not just people that are like, well, I'm not happy for him. People are vocal about it. They're vocal about the fact that maybe at some point that wears him down. And maybe at some point, maybe not now, but maybe 10, 20 years from now, when he's old and looking back at that ring going, I got it, but how did I get there? How did I get it? And all the people that leave it bad, he may not. He may not. I think
that's
some
the
more
furthest thing from his mind. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing I was thinking too is, I have a theory now that about Odell in Cleveland and how it went down, because he was brought to Cleveland, right? He was brought to Cleveland before Stefanski. Stefanski just like basically inherited him, right?
Yep.
And I don't think Stefanski was willing. He probably saw what he did, under Freddie and all that stuff. And Stefanski probably came in and said, you know what? I want this guy to be a piece of a big part of the team. I want to use him where I can, but I'm not going to build my offense around a guy who's on the tail end of his career now. I'm not saying that he's not productive, but on the tail end of his career, who's had emotional problems and maturity problems and has been injured consistently. It doesn't matter how much talent you have. Stefanski, as a new coach, was coming in going, where's my talent here? My talent is in my running backs, my offensive line, and I'm going to put tight ends on the field that I can do it with. He was not going to build an offense around Odell, and he wasn't going to build an offense or at least feature him like high in the offense and say this is all going to be Odell. So I think, and then also the other thing, remember back to the Kansas City game where Odell was practicing all preseason, was up and ready to go, was running full speed, and then all of a sudden, a couple days before, it's like, well, he might not play, and then he didn't play. And then the next game, he didn't play the next game. And I think what happened was Odell said, I'm not playing in Kansas City.
Yeah, and then, that's pretty much what happened.
And then Stefanski said, well, you're not playing in Kansas City. You're not playing next week either. So you decide what you want to do. And I think that a lot of the blame, now I'm not saying that Baker's perfect and he hit him every time and all this stuff and he hit every time he was open, but I think Baker took a lot of the blame for what went down in Cleveland for like some more of what Stefanski probably was the cause of as well, right? So and then you look at it and he's been very productive in LA. So the bottom line is he could have been productive. He could have been this guy. You know, is he? And we talked about this, I think, just about every show. He's clearly not the number one guy anymore. Cooper Kupp is definitely the number one. He is drawing coverage. He is executing when he has to. But again, I mean, you can't just throw it up to Odell and hope he's going to go up and grab the ball because Stafford's throwing interceptions trying to do that. He's not superhuman anymore. He's just a really good veteran wide receiver who's still got speed. He could still catch the ball. He could still make circus catches, but he's not Superman anymore. And he's probably going to be productive in the Super Bowl. He's probably going to catch some stuff. He might even catch a touchdown. Who knows? But I don't know. At the bottom line is I'm going to have a hard time ever thinking about Odell Beckham and not thinking about like how he left, the manner of which he left Cleveland and everything that went along with it, on top of the fact that the 1 year, our one great year that we had where we went to the playoffs and won a game in the playoffs, he wasn't really a part of that. He wasn't a part of the playoff run at all. I mean, he helped contribute during that Dallas game without a doubt, but he wasn't a part of the playoff success there. And I think if he would have been, and if he would have had a great year and been a part of the playoff success and saw what it was and really saw how close we were even in Kansas City, it might have changed his attitude, right? But coming back and being featured less and, you know, having a hard time with Baker relationship-wise or whatever, maybe, you know, I think the writing was on the wall. So personally for me, in terms of the Super Bowl, I'll tell you this, because I want your thoughts on the Super Bowl as well, because it's coming up this week. I think
unfortunately,
my dad is in the chat. I think my heart, if I was betting with my heart, I would say the Bengals, and I'm not saying I want them to win. I mean, there's no real winner here for us, but I'd rather see a guy like Burrow win over a guy like Odell win. That's me. But if I'm betting if I was going to bet with my head, it's the Rams with a super team, similarly to Tampa Bay last year, and they're playing at home similarly to Tampa Bay last year. And a lot of those guys on the Rams, I'm not saying this is their last run, but it's Super Bowl or bust. Whereas the Bengals, it's not necessarily Super Bowl or bust. They still have a long, you know, they still have many, many years with Joe Burrow. And, you know, we beat the pants off of them, you know, in their home, the Bengals. So I just look at it and I go, I don't see the Bengals winning this game. I really don't. If I was betting with my head, I think LA is going to win. I think it's not going to be a blowout, but I think LA is going to win. What about you? What are your thoughts?
So, I guess like earlier, I can't see a division rival win the Super Bowl. It would make me nauseous. So I hope the Bengals lose. We'll throw that out there first. But I in terms of how the game's going to go, I feel like, I mean, the Rams are just, they can explode on you and just, you know, put up 21 and you don't even know what hit you.
Yep.
But what I really, and this is probably going to be a shocker when I say it, but I don't know about like a 45-3 drubbing kind of blowout. But I feel like the Rams are going to wind up winning by 2 or 3 scores, and I just think that Von Miller and Aaron Donald and company are just going to be too much for that offensive line to handle, and I think that, the weeks of us saying, "Oh, well, I mean, if you look at the Bengals, obviously you don't need an offensive line because look what they've been doing." I think that finally catches up with them on Sunday, and I think that they're in the backfield early and often on Burrow.
Yeah, I agree. I just think the Rams are too good, and it's not being played on a neutral field. Matt Stafford, those guys, they're walking into their own lockers. You know, the regular way for them to drive to work every day. They're not gonna have to fly across the country. When they're doing their press stuff, they go home and sleep in the bed at night. Right? I mean, there's so much to that I think is an advantage. And there's really nothing the NFL can do. They scheduled it. The Rams happened to get into it. If the Chargers would have gotten into it, they would have had the same thing. Right? So at the end of the day, I would be, people want to gamble with the Bengals, and strange things have happened, but in this one, my head is saying, and I've been going back and forth. I almost made a $200 bet on the Bengals just to bet with my heart, but I was like, what am I doing? Like, it's a silly bet. I mean, if I was really gonna bet $200, like I'd put it on or whatever. I would put it on the Rams, and just go for there. All right, guys. Before we get into the actual mock draft, Mike.
Yeah.
What talk to me about the Senior Bowl stuff that you're hearing, and what's going on in Browns rumorville that for everybody out there, Mike's very well connected in the Browns rumor mill. So I want to know what you're hearing amongst the chatter.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a lull right now. I mean, I haven't really heard much. It's still, when you talk about the quarterback position, it's not clear cut that they run it back. They're doing their due diligence. They believe that they need upgraded play at that position, whether it's Baker or not, or going to find that elsewhere. That's been out there for for a little bit. And as far as the Senior Bowl goes, Kenny Pickett was head and shoulders above everybody else. There were some executives that they don't believe that he makes it past 6 to the Panthers. Some believe that you may see somebody jump the Panthers to get to Kenny Pickett at 5 or 4 or what have you. Malik Willis, he's got a cannon arm. He's fast as lightning. Some teams like him a lot. He's raw, right? So he's not a guy that you draft high and then you start next year. Like he's a kid that his ceiling could be enormous, right? He's got the tools. They just need to have him sit, whoever drafts him, and learn, and his accuracy sometimes is a little hit or miss. So that's something that they would work on. But believe you me, there are a lot of teams that really, really like him. And I did read earlier today that if he's there at 20, that the Steelers will run up the card to get Malik Willis.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And the other quarterbacks, were so. I know I have a couple of friends that are high on Carson Strong out of Nevada. He had a so week. He's battled injuries in his career. His knee's kind of gimpy, and he was pretty rusty down there. And they really liked, and I think you're gonna like this. We'll take a step away from the quarterback position, but and then I'll come back one more second just to talk about. I see Tim was talking about Pickett's gloves, but our guy, Mike, that we love, right? After Malik did his his little routine there outside, unclothed,
Mm-hmm.
our thought was, hey, we're gonna need a defensive tackle,
Yes.
and we love uh, Wyatt. I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
remember his first name. I want to say Devonta, but I'm not sure. Let me take a peek here.
I think it is.
Yeah, Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. They say he's going to be a beast, and very well might make it up into the first round.
Wow.
So, I, if I must say so myself, I mean, the guys that they're talking about are guys that you and I have been turning the card in for the past 3-4 weeks. So, another guy that has been jumping up in the mocks too, and jumped literally out of his stance and ran over the kid from Kennard from Kentucky, who I think projects to be a guard at the next level, but he's a right tackle, I believe, at Kentucky. But Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State just abused him early in the week, at Senior Bowl practice. So um, it's interesting because the one thing about this front office, and you tell me, I feel like there could be a wild card, and like it would. Let's put it this way: it wouldn't surprise me if they did their diligence and they're done with Baker, and they feel like a Kenny Pickett might be, the future. I know the Browns. He was the first one they talked to, and I do know the Browns. They do like Malik Willis. Do they like him enough to take him at 13 or move up? I feel like teams are gonna reach for him, and after a year or two, maybe that it'll show that was the right move. But I don't think we can reach for anybody at this point. But I guess the point that I was making was, I could totally see like several different scenarios, right? I could see us trading up and trying to get a Kenny Pickett if that's our guy. I could see us staying at 13 and we're getting ready to wait for, one of the guys that's still on the board, whether it's Traylon Burks or Garrett Wilson at that point or whoever. And, a guy like Jermaine Johnson on the edge is still out there at 13 and they hand in that card. Or they do what we expect them to do, and one of those receivers is available that they like, they make that pick. So I think it's going to be an interesting draft for us because I really feel like it could go either way.
Yeah.
Anyway, like three different ways, really.
I think if you think back to it, right? If you think back to any of the big quarterbacks that have ever been drafted, right? Like Pat Mahomes or
Yep.
Dan Marino. It just doesn't, you name whoever you want. If those type guys are out there and you believe that you have a guy like that, you have to go get that guy. Right? If your guys have scouting and you say this guy is going to has the potential to be a legendary quarterback, you got to go get him. And because the other pieces, Derek Jones, thanks for renewing your membership, man. Thank you very much, Derek. And if you get your guy, the other pieces can be added in, with the exception of maybe defensive end. Right? When we got Miles that draft, I mean, he's a generational guy, and I think the measurables were all there. It was a can't miss, and we didn't miss. But with a quarterback, there were some question marks as we had brought up. What the scouting report said of Baker still remains very true today. And now it's like, I got to tell you, I would be surprised. I'd be very, very surprised at this point, honestly, if this front office said, we're done with Baker and we need to draft Malik Willis or somebody else. I don't think Pickett's going to be there at 13. I don't think we're going to trade up to get Pickett. Right? I think there's other teams that are a little bit more desperate. And I think the Panthers are honestly way more desperate. The Panthers need a guy. They went and invested in Sam Darnold, not a ton, but they made an investment in him versus
And their owner
us.
is a pick guy. So that's where that.
Oh, I mean that there too. I mean that's almost like there's an emotional connection potentially to Kenny Pickett. So I don't think he's going to be there at 13. I don't think we're going to move up, and I think that this front office is too smart. We have too many advanced level high end Ivy League degrees in that room to go and say we're gonna take a stretch on a guy who's I don't see any of the other quarterbacks, any of them, who are going to come in and beat a healthy Baker year one if they went into competition. I don't see that. Maybe they have a higher upside. Maybe they could learn and do that. But I'll go on record right now saying I don't see the other quarterbacks that could beat out Baker in the preseason and take that job. So
unless he plays like he did this season.
Yeah, but I mean, I think even with like preseason, like how much are they going to give him? You know, they're still going to be. He's not going to be able to be touched in the preseason. He may or may not even play in the preseason coming off the shoulder surgery. So how much of it is going to be a true comparison, right? To even see what you have between the two. And it creates a controversy in an already rumored to be divided locker room. I just would find it surprising if they decided to do that. And the only reason that they would is if they were like, we are done with Baker, it is over. And I don't think that they haven't given any indication that they're done with him. They really haven't. So my point is, I really do think that they are gonna look at what do we need the most. Jarvis, I don't believe is coming back. So if he's not coming back, and they look at that wide receiver room, and they go, okay, are we rolling out DPJ as a number one? Is that what
they'll pick up? Yeah, no, sorry, I was just gonna say, I think they're gonna. Well,
you think they're gonna have a shot at Godwin or Allen Robinson?
I think that. I mean, I don't think that Tampa Bay is going to let Godwin walk. And speaking of Godwin, he literally graduated from the high school not even 10 minutes down the road from me.
Huh.
But yeah, many a good story about he's a good kid. But going back to that draft scenario, I really could see, let's put it this way. I think if you see in free agency, and that might be a hint and a clue as to which way we're going to be leaning here towards, in the draft. I mean, if they go out and let's say hypothetically they pull off Godwin, right? Or one of the other top tier clear cut one guys, right?
I don't even know if I could say I don't know if I could say Godwin's a clear number one. I think Mike Evans I think Mike Evans is number one. And a healthy Antonio Brown would have been the number two, and Godwin is a great number. I mean, Godwin is a number one of number threes, right?
Well, and we don't know what he would look like as a one, right? So I think he could be, just looking at his talent, but at the same time, yeah, on Tampa Bay, to your point, Evans was the clear cut one, but. It would have been interesting to see if Godwin didn't get hurt, and then you lost Antonio Brown, and then you lost Evans for a couple games to see what he would have looked like as a one on the field with that other kid that they had that sadly got hurt a few games later and Gronk. So, but I think if they go out and they land somebody that is top notch, that you go, wow, I mean that's they're coming here for that money, and it's that name, then that could be telling in terms of, hey, you don't go out and get a one to then draft a one, So I think free agency will tell a lot in terms of shaping up that 13th pick.
I think too, the free agency, if you're, let's say that you're a free agent wide receiver and you're going to go into like probably your second contract. Let's just call it your second contract, which is a big opportunity because, I don't remember where Godwin was drafted or Allen Robinson, but like a lot of these guys are going to make a lot of money in this this round. Historically, big name free agent wide receivers have never worked out in Cleveland. And for whatever reason, they haven't. Okay. And so I will tell you this. I would be very shocked thinking about if I'm a free agent wide receiver and I'm one of the top guys, I'd be shocked if any of them are sitting there going, you know what? I'm looking at Cleveland. I'm looking at the Baker situation, which is there's question marks all over that. Is he going to be the quarterback? If he is, how is he going to do? And then looking at the offense that Stefanski runs, which is he wants to run the ball and throw to tight ends. So, and then you look back to what happened with Odell, where, I mean, you've said it. I mean, you did the math. He was open a ton. So even if you get open, are you going to get the ball? And if you get the ball, are you going to get in a position where you can even catch it? There's so many question marks.
And then on top of those question marks, right? So as you're saying that, right, as you're going through all those question marks.
Yep.
Let's say there were 10 question marks, right? Well, just hypothetical.
Okay. We could come up with
9 of those. So we'll say you just threw out 10, right?
Yeah.
Hypothetically. Out of those 10, 9 of those were reasons why a player wouldn't want to come here because our quarterback is not playing very well. So if you, and there's part of us that we believe that they're going to roll it back, right? We've said that.
Yep.
And you just said that like 5 minutes ago. But then when you sit here and you rattle off why a top-notch receiver wouldn't want to come to Cleveland, we keep going back to the same point, which then has to lead you to believe that the rumors that we hear and I'm hearing through people I know, that the front office is looking to upgrade the position and they are heavily into evaluating last season's tape. So if they see the same things that we saw, which they will,
yep,
but they're privy to information that we are not, obviously,
yep,
it's above our pay grade, then, I mean, they very well could go find a way to snag a quarterback somewhere.
Yeah.
That they believe can just run the offense so they don't have a lost year. Or they they could very well surprise you and go get a quarterback. You know, we don't know in the draft, that is. So it's let's put it this way. I think you would agree, and I think everybody listening would agree, that we never in a million years would think to be having this conversation right now, the week before the Super Bowl. I would have thought for myself personally that we either would have been in the game, which would have been a little bit of wishful thinking, but I thought for sure at the least we would be talking right now about what a great playoff run we had, and a couple breaks didn't go this way. Hey, what do we need to shore up, etc. And so it's kind of sad. And I think you agree that
like last year, where we're like, if Higgins, if a penalty flag gets thrown on that play for Higgins, if he doesn't fumble into the end zone, there's so many what ifs that went on there.
And and Mike, I wanted to bring this up for everybody listening, and you, and I sent it to you the other day. I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but we had mentioned earlier, I was on with Rod the other day, and we were going over the roster, and the one thing that stood out that really surprised me, and I'll be honest, I really didn't think about it until I went and did my research before I went on that show. And here is something interesting for you, all right, for all of us. And I'll start at the offensive line, and I'll go quickly. When you look at the offensive line, you got Teller, Wills, Bitonio, and Shredder. You got Conklin coming back from the patellar. Drew Rosenhaus came out a couple weeks ago or last week, I think it was, and said that Conklin is way ahead of schedule, and he feels like he is going to be ready for training camp. Now, if that is the case, we will all be tickled pink. Um, could it be? Could it be agent speak? Sure, but he's not in a contract year, right? So it's not like they're. I mean, he's got one more year under his belt, so it's not like he's saying that. So they won't get rid of him. They're not going to get rid of him. He's under contract for another year. So maybe that's the case. But when you take a step away from that, right? We've got James Hudson, Nick Harris, David Moore, who is a practice squad guy, Hjalte Froholt, which was that guard that we picked up in the middle of the season. Every time there was COVID, they picked him up. And there was always the Froholt watch. I know you've seen him. And Alex Taylor. That's it. That's the only guys that we have under contract on the offensive line besides the 5 starters. So that's frightening, right?
Yeah.
You look at the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
This is mind-blowing to me. You ready for this? Under contract right now, at defensive end, you've got Myles Garrett, Curtis Weaver, and Myles Garrett and Curtis Weaver. Those are the only defensive ends that we have under contract. Clowney is an unrestricted free agent. Sheldon Day is an unrestricted free agent. Porter Gustin is a restricted free agent. Tack is unrestricted. We don't know what's going to happen with the Achilles. And Odenigbo is a restricted free agent, right? So right now, as it stands, we have 2 guys.
Holes we got to fill.
We have, right. And then, yeah. And then if you go to defensive tackle, you've got Jordan Elliott and Tommy Tajia. That's it. Those are the only 2 defensive tackles we have under contract. Malik Jackson is an unrestricted free agent. They'll probably kick the tires to see if he has enough tread to maybe bring him back on a small deal.
Right.
But that's it. Like Malik McDowell's gone, right? I can't see them bringing him back. And that's it. Those are the only guys. Malik Jackson, Jordan Elliott, and Tommy Tajia. Those are the 3 guys that are in the picture, but only 2 of them in Elliott and Tajia are signed. So right now we have 2 defensive ends and 2 defensive tackles. The linebacker looks good. Everybody signed. You just got Malcolm Smith and Anthony Walker, which I think Anthony Walker will probably come back. He's an unrestricted free agent. And then, we know the corner situation and the safeties. So, but with that being said, and the reason why I went there is, it's not under the realm of impossibility that they go a different way at 13 other than receiver, because there, as you see, are holes all over this defense. And forget about if they can't get Clowney back.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally talking Myles Garrett and Curtis Weaver.
I mean,
think about that for a second.
And even if Myles comes, or even if Clowney comes back, right? Even if he comes back, I mean, is he going to give us 17 games?
Right. You don't know.
I mean, when was the last time? Has he ever given a team the full season? So
I think this year it was probably the fullest season that he's given since I don't even know when.
And you know what? He went out there and he played really well to the point where I think another team that was close, like whoever the next Rams team is going to be, or maybe wherever Aaron Rodgers ends up, who's going to go Super Bowl or bust, would grab a guy like that and be like, okay, yeah, you're plug and play. Like we know we're getting between 8 and 12 sacks just by having him. And I know that's not the only measurable, and it's actually kind of a dumb measurable, but Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you could plug that guy in there and give you a season, and it's somebody that you have to account for that guy.
And to the point of looking at this roster breakdown, I mean, the cupboard is so bare that, to your point, I mean, you could use the Bengals, right? They're an up and comer, right? Looking for someone on the other side with I can't think of the kid's name that they have at defensive end on the Bengals. It's good. His name Hutchinson, maybe, I think his name is.
Ogunjobi, I think, is a free agent, though. I think Ogunjobi could come back.
He could come back.
Can you imagine that? He goes to Cincinnati, wins a ring, and then comes back. It's like, hey, I got a ring, guys.
Yeah, he would be tormenting the locker room. But
him and Miles
the point
are good
being
friends,
is, yeah, they are. The they could look at it and go, oh man, we need a piece on the other side. So, hey, what are the Browns offering you? Oh, the Browns are offering you, I'm going to make up a number, $11 million a year. We'll give you 16. These guys only make money for a certain amount of time. I mean, so he's going to go where the money is.
It would say, if the Browns are offering 11, okay, we'll give you 11-1.
Right.
He'll be like, okay, what the fuck? I mean, he's a mercenary at this point.
Yeah, he's going to take the money. And if you're the Browns, he could come back and say, hey, look, I like playing with Miles. I'd really like to come back. What else can you give us? And to the point that I was just making, well, I'm sorry, Jadae, we can't give you any more because we need to fill the holes down the line. I mean, it can't just be the two of you and Curtis Weaver. Yeah. So it's the linebacker position looks nice. The D-backs look nice. I think they'll lock up Denzel. The safeties, I think we're okay with JJ
you have
the third
to
and
lock up.
Delpit.
You have to lock up Denzel. I mean, like it's non-negotiable.
So there's just so many holes that I'll be honest with you. When we were doing that last week, I couldn't believe. It was one thing writing it down, and then it's another thing talking through it, and you're like,
well, that's the other thing. Like, I don't think all of those positions have to be addressed in the draft, and I don't think that's their plan either. I think they are going to go out, and I think they're going to try to re-sign some of their players that they want back. Number one, I think they're going to look to see who's available and try to make a play for another. I don't think it's going to be a big sexy guy like a Jadeveon Clowney who. Beyond us re-signing him, like getting another guy like that, another big name. But I think that there's some guys out there that, that can come in and play that role and do that and give us an upgrade over what we had last year. I'm more concerned. The biggest thing I'm concerned with everything that you just said isn't necessarily the starters, because I think we're gonna have a decent enough starting team. It's more about the depth. Like, if we only have two guys, the depth, God forbid if we don't sign, re-sign Clowney and Miles goes down. I mean, it is drastic, the drop down from a talent perspective. We saw when Miles did the bashing, of Mason Rudolph's helmet, the drop of what that does to our defense. We go from a defense that you have to respect, and you got to make sure that you're scheming around one particular player to, they're just another team. No worries. So, but we shall see. Anyway, let's hop into the draft.
Yeah.
Because we can play around with it.
Yeah. As you set that up, it's funny that you brought up that Miles incident, because going to the games that year, as the season wore on, and as we were laying the wood to the Steelers that game on prime time, it felt like, man, this could be a Cinderella year.
Yeah, it absolutely did. It felt like it
got squashed.
It felt like we were just turning over the leaf. We turned the corner, and we're running downhill now. And then when he did that, when that happened at the end of that game, it felt. I mean, it was almost like watching a guy get, break a leg or get paralyzed. I mean, it was such a hollow feeling. I was in a hotel room for that game, and I remember when that was over, you could probably go back to we did a Brownie post game after that, and we had won the game, and it was like we had lost, and it wasn't like we had lost. It was like we had lost bad.
Yeah,
And that's how I felt after that game.
Yeah, I agree with you. That walking through the airport and on the plane was the worst feeling in the world, because it was like you finally beat the Steelers at home, and it didn't matter because
Yeah.
you knew that
You
he was
won,
getting
but you also
suspended.
lost
Yeah.
big time. Anyway, let's hop into the mock. So we have the Browns, which I'm up on. And then, do you want to play? I'm not saying that you have to be a
I'll be the Steelers.
The Ravens. You want to be the Steelers?
Yeah, I'll be the Steelers. Why not?
Okay. And we'll start there. So let's go. Let's do 2 rounds. We'll go down slow. It doesn't have any of the advanced setting. How simulated teams pick. I'm just going to use defaults because they've changed this whole user interface on me for the mock draft, right? It used to be different before. So we'll go ahead and enter the draft. So we've got Jacksonville on the clock. And right now we are picking, as you can see, we're picking 13. So let's go ahead and jump in. Start it up. I'm not going to jump up to number 1. So I'm going to wait. We're going to stop it at 5 because it doesn't matter. These are all going to be Stingley's.
Same thing so far.
Yep, there you go. Stingley's gone. I mean, it's like
Hamilton here, I bet.
Or here.
Yeah.
Ooh. So Hamilton went 2. Hamilton went 2. So yeah.
The kid from Michigan usually goes 1. He's down to 5, huh?
Yeah. I mean, who knows? But
meanwhile, I was thinking of him when I was talking about the defensive end for the Bengals. I can't think. Hendrickson, that's his name.
Hendrickson, there you go.
I said Aiden Hutchinson, and then I just saw it on there. I'm like, yeah, no, that's the kid from Michigan.
I think
Hendrickson.
I think the kid from Oregon's going to be a better player anyway, to be honest.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so now we're looking, and the Steelers. Are you looking to possibly move up to 5 to grab Kenny Pickett?
How did you know I was thinking this?
So, are you going to make the play to go all the way up there and keep the guy, the college kid in the Steel City? So, are you? Because I'm not going to do it. I'm not making that call. But if you, as Mr. Steelers guy, are, we could switch, and I could say, give him an offer.
I'm gonna hang tight.
You're not going to go Kenny because this is where he could go.
I'm going to go, well, everything I've read the past couple of days, the Steelers like Willis, so we'll make that decision as we come down.
Okay, let's resume the draft then.
Pickett's got to go here.
Does he go here?
Gotta.
Kenny Pickett. There he goes.
Yep.
Giants go with the tackle. Falcons, like Matt Corral is the next one that's going to where's he going to go? There he goes to number 9. The Jets take a tackle, so now they got a right and a left. Washington takes the Commanders now, and then the Vikings go with the edge out of Michigan. So
what's sorry, I was just going to say what was interesting is when we were talking about wide receivers, we forgot all about Calvin Ridley. If Atlanta wants to move off him and Andrew Barry feels like that could be a thing, and both sides are comfortable with that, and you bring in a Calvin Ridley, now all bets are off at 13.
That's absolutely true. That's I mean, if he moves and we grab him, who knows? There's another thing too. Oh, go ahead, say your thing. There's this guy Trevor Penning was a guy that I saw a lot of buzz about as well. But anyway.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, this past week, I started seeing Chris Olave starting to get more love, and he's starting to be in the talk for maybe being the one off the board first.
Interesting. So this Trevor Penning guy there's a lot of tape on him that some highlight stuff in practice of the Senior Bowl, and he's 6'7", 321, Northern Iowa kid. And, if you look at that, 6'7", 321, then Filele, the 6'9", 330.
And
right?
I took some notes for him, too. He's a power run scheme guy, ideally, but they say he could play in any scheme and have extreme success.
Filele?
Trevor Penning.
Yeah, Penning is an interesting one, too.
Yeah. But to your point, because I know you brought up Falele, he's been going to the Steelers in mock drafts. By the way, it makes me a little nauseous because I know like he was like our first love at tackle on this on our drafts. But he's another kid. Play action RPO type stuff is his wheelhouse. But he's another guy that they say that he could play in multiple schemes. It doesn't really matter.
So here's an interesting new feature that they added. I don't know if you see this. So I'm on the pick, and we have trade 4. There's 4 teams that are interested in my
pick?
13th pick.
Ah.
So now it's getting a little smarter. I like this PFF thing. This wasn't there before, at least that I could tell, or maybe nobody was interested when we were picking. But
who is it? Who's interested in
So we
us?
have Arizona at 23, Green Bay at 28, Cincinnati at 31, and Chicago at 39. I'm not moving down to 39, but I might be interested at 23. If I move down to 23,
What
then
could you get?
Yeah, I mean that's
I shouldn't really be
question.
having this conversation with you though, because I'm the Steeler guy right now.
Well, that's the thing. They don't tell me what they're interested in taking. So I could say 13 for 23, and then I get 23, 55, and round 1 next year.
Ooh, if you could pull that off. Look at you're all excited. Look at you smiling over there.
I'm gonna. Let's see. They wanted to.
Hey.
They called me. I didn't call them.
This is all shits and giggles.
You know, they called me. Right, and it doesn't mean that I can't still move up and do something with that 55 or whatever to move up and jump back ahead of you at the Steelers, right? Yeah. So, and I think there's going to be good wide receivers there. So I'm going to go ahead and make the offer. They didn't accept it. They're a little too greedy, maybe.
I wonder if you did a second instead of a.
Yeah, let's just go second. Offer it.
Nope.
3 attempts. So now they're not interested in really giving up that. I have three attempts remaining. I'll go 1, 2, and 3. They took it.
Wow. Who do they want? Who are they? Now, before you hit that button, I'm sure everybody's seen it this week. Kyler Murray scrubbed all his Cardinal pictures.
Yeah.
And today the agent was asked, what's up with that? And you know what the agent said? No comment. And as we know, no comment is pretty much like pleading the fifth. So
that is, and the weird thing was there's been no leak reports that he's had, bad relations with them or anything, but I will tell you, there's a couple things that are interesting about this. Number one, I think he's just doing it to get paid. I think he wants them to pay him now and extend him. That's all it is. I think he wants to be in Arizona. He's happy there, and that's they built the team around him. It's what he knows. They can win games there. I think they're going to try to. I think you're going to pay him, and I think it's a great tactic. It's a little juvenile, but I think it's what you do, right? I'm
so excited for this AI pick. I am like, if this goes to a quarterback,
then it's crazy. Then we are this is definitely like a different timeline that we are clearly in, because nothing's been out of whack completely yet.
I mean,
nothing's been completely out of whack.
I mean, unless they are looking at it like they've got Hopkins and Kirk is a free agent and they're going to let him go, and right now they're going to pick up a superstar to put next to Hopkins
to give up their first, second, and third. Basically, they've given up their draft.
Whole draft. This could be Malik Willis.
You're right.
This is exciting. Hit that button. Let's go.
And then the other thing about Kyler Murray that adds a little bit of interest, a little bit of spice to it, is the fact that he could go play baseball.
Yeah.
I think I don't think he is, but former Heisman guy, but nonetheless. Let's see where they go. See what they take. They moved up and trade their whole draft for the center.
The center. Interesting.
So here now, everybody might be sitting there going, the AI is crazy. But no. I've heard very good things about him. I have
excellent things about him.
I have heard, and I'm not, here's the thing. in some of the drafts that we've seen, he's dropped in the previous mocks. He's dropped really far. But I got to tell you that I don't think they would give up their whole draft for him. But I can tell you that I think he is a very good player. And again, mark this down, timestamp it. We can look back at it 5 years from now and go, was Tyler Linderbaum worth giving up your entire draft for?
I mean, he would be your center, your quarterback on the offensive line for the next 12 years.
Let's move on. Let's see what the defensive line and DB needs are here at the Ravens in Baltimore. Sashi goes with linebacker. Okay. Eagles are going to take. There's Garrett Wilson. Okay.
What did they get? Dean from Georgia? Oh wow!
Wow.
Never happened in a million years, but that would be some stones, boy.
Is hilarious. I mean, how amazing would that be? I mean, crazy things happen in the NFL draft.
They could. I mean, could you imagine? I mean,
yes,
you're playing with house money. You got 3 picks. So you literally could be like, okay, because as far-fetched as it is, and I don't think they would do this, but as far-fetched as it is, I mean, Jalen Reagor is terrible. They're going to get rid of him. So, I mean, you got Devonta Smith. Could you imagine Devonta Smith,
Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave?
And Chris Olave? I mean, and you
with
could
a Jalen Hurts, who I mean, you know better than anybody, having ran with him all season in fantasy.
Yeah.
What type of production he could give up, he could do.
Yeah.
I mean,
Miles Sanders in the backfield.
I think it's probably more likely if they're going to do something like that, then you would be a Garrett Wilson, something Chargers, Saints, Chris Olave.
Could you imagine though? I mean, in all seriousness, like you literally would have Smith, and again, you could to your point, you could substitute. You could say they take Wilson at 15, and then they get like a Treylon Burks at 19, I think that is. But point being,
you're throwing.
Could you imagine? Think about that: Smith, Olave. We'll just use these ones. Garrett Wilson, and Dallas Goedert at tight end.
Yeah, tight end.
It would be like Air Coryell.
Right. I mean, and that
even Bonzo likes it. He's barking about
it. That transforms your team. So I know it's a mock, but it's interesting because we live in in the multiverse, and there is some universe out there, some timeline where the Eagles take both wide receivers from Ohio State. All right, so let's get closer. We're coming up to our picks here.
Hey, if you think about it, remember who the Eagles had for a long time, and then Buddy Ryan got rid of him because Buddy Ryan said all he does is catch touchdown passes. Do you know who that is?
During the Buddy, okay, well,
Ohio State. Went on to be
Chris Carter.
Yep.
No, the Eagles had Chris Carter.
He was an Eagle first, and Buddy Ryan got rid of him. They said all he does is catch touchdown passes. Yeah, true story.
I remember they had like Mike Quick and a couple of. I'm from Pennsylvania. I remember like those Eagles teams.
Yeah. Quick was on his way out as Carter was coming in.
Wow, I didn't even realize that. All right, so we went wide receiver. I thought I was going to get a steal here, like no problem with 3 wide receivers gone. I actually might want to come back up ahead now, but I don't think the Eagles can't take another wide receiver. That'd be insanity. I don't think the Saints. I think we're gonna be okay. Steelers. Okay, so Devin Lloyd, Eagles go corner. You're on the clock here. Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, that's right. You fell behind me.
You have a team that's interested in a trade. The Houston Texans.
I bet they are. What spot are they?
They don't have a first round pick, so you got to drop all the way to 35.
Not having him.
That's a huge drop. I mean, that might be worth a first round pick next year, though. But
I'm going to go with Malik Willis because that's what they're saying they would do.
Okay, let's go into quarterback. And all the way down, his average draft position is 27. Sam Howell is the guy that is currently being he's being underdrafted. So we'll go ahead and take Malik Willis. Let's put him on the team. The New England goes corner. The Raiders go. Oh
Receiver.
God, they took the guy
right? Did they take a receiver?
They took wide receiver. They took Drake London, who I was going to take. Let's go to the wide receiver. So Traylon's there.
But I mean, you're going to wind up with all those extra picks and
potentially Traylon. Let's see who's interested in trading. Should I be Mike Pettin and just trade down? 4 teams want my pick.
Wow.
The next pick is
trying to get him.
The next pick is Green Bay at 28, which is okay. Interesting. That'd be 4 picks. I could do that. Let's see what they get. Let's see what they got. They got 28 and 60, which gives me
down.
I think I'm going to trade down again.
Oh, Traylon's not going to be on there. Traylon Burks will be gone.
And let's say I'm going to take.
You are in full rebuild mode.
I'm going to trade down one more time. I think Traylon's going to be there, and you know what? Dotson might be the guy that I go with.
This is like Eric Mangini's first year when they just kept trading down.
Was it Pettin or Mangini?
Was
it
Mangini?
Was
I
it
believe.
Mangini?
No, because it was the year he got Mac.
Oh yeah, you're right.
They traded the pick away to the Jets for Sanchez.
So I'm with my advanced scouting and knowing what's coming up between all these guys. I think
Burks.
I think Burks is going to be there at 28. So I'm going to go pick up 28, 60, and give me a third round next year.
You're rebuilding. I like it.
Let's offer it.
Boom.
They took it.
Who are they coming for?
They're coming
wide receiver.
They want a wide out.
They want him. I'm telling you.
Traylon Burks.
I told you.
Dallas takes Jordan Davis. It's okay. Dotson's gone. Yikes. My advanced scouts were wrong.
You got to take Jermaine Johnson. Is he still on the board?
You've got Sky Moore, who we had drafted late.
You're done. You can't.
Yeah, the wide receiver position is probably not going to be addressed here in the first round.
Nope, you blew that.
I blew the wide out position. But let's go and look.
Go to defensive end, Mike. Did Jermaine Johnson get drafted? If not, run the card up. There he is.
He's there.
There he is.
That's what I'm saying.
Run
like
the card up.
There is
him or Wyatt.
Is Wyatt's still there, right?
Yeah, you should be.
Hold on a second. I don't have it sorted correctly. Devontae Wyatt, but I think Devontae is going to be there in the second.
I think so too. But if you can get Jermaine Johnson at 23, I would applaud you.
I'm just gonna look. I'm gonna look at the best available. Best available. We've got Drake Jackson's here. I can't sort by average draft position, unfortunately. But let's go defensive end, and we could take Jermaine Johnson the second. We're picking pretty heavy here, but we have a lot of picks in the second round.
Don't worry about Clowney.
Let's look at offensive tackle real quick, just to see who's there.
Somebody said fire Keeley.
Trevor. They're burning me in effigy on the streets.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
This has been the wildest one so far. I think you're right. I think I'm gonna take the edge. And I'm gonna put. Let's just take it to see what we got. 2021, he was an 81 PFF grade. He's pretty darn good, as we've pointed out earlier. And I think this is going to be an interesting one because we missed out on all the top wide receivers.
I can't believe that he's there. He'll be a top 10 pick, I believe, unless there's people jumping up to go quarterback crazy.
Let's take him.
That's a steal at 23. That I could tell you.
Okay, I agree. So Mike's on board.
We're not even. What
Kenyon
are we at? 28?
Green, Trevor Penning. There goes Penning. DeMarvin Leal. The Lions went with Sam Howell. Drake Jackson goes to Jacksonville.
Wow.
All right. Desmond Ridder goes to Houston. All right.
I wonder if Houston was trying to get up to you to get him.
Possibly.
We'll never know, but that's interesting.
Let's see. David Bell, another one of the wide receivers up there, is gone. He goes to the Falcons. Washington takes Kennard, the tackle. Carson Strong goes to second round, goes to the Vikings, which should be interesting.
Tell me why it's still there. He is.
Yeah, there he is.
Wow.
And so is Falele.
Wow.
I think I'm gonna look at the wide receiver position. Sky Moore is still there. Justin Ross, John Menchie. I'm gonna take.
You literally could get.
Yep.
You could shore up holes with studs.
I'm taking
on that
Devontae Wyatt.
defensive line.
Taking Devontae Wyatt here at 45.
I feel like John Menchie goes at 55.
The Ravens take a safety. Logan Hall to the Dolphins.
This is a hell of a draft, I got to tell you.
Christian Harris.
I'm excited about it.
Darian Kendrick goes to the Saints. Eagles take an edge out of South Carolina. You're on the clock. You're on the clock with your brand new quarterback. What are you going to do with him? There's a trade offer. The Broncos are interested, but you'd have to move down to 64. Best available.
You're not going to like it, but
the linebacker.
I want the guy below him.
Falele. Take the tackle. It's a good pick.
Yep.
I wasn't going to go there anyway, so that was good for you. Good for us Brownies.
Yes.
Brandon Smith, the linebacker, goes to the Patriots, and then Majai Sanders, a guy who we had drafted previously, goes to the Raiders. I'm back on the clock, and I'm not probably going to move down, but just looking at the trades available, Buccaneers are interested. I'd have to move from 55 to 59. I'm going to take a player here, though. And I'm going to look to see, is our tight end still there?
There he is. He is.
Our tight end is there, Trey McBride. I'm going to go ahead and take him. And I've got a couple picks from now. I will have another pick. Jason
That's right.
Kirkland,
This is some draft.
George Pickens, Kyler Gordon, John Menchie goes. I'm going wide receiver now. I'm gonna take Justin Ross, big wide receiver.
Clemson.
Yeah, if you go into my top wide receivers here, and you go into the guys who are available, Justin Ross, 6'4", 205, runs a 4.61. Who knows what he's going to run? Who knows what he's going to run at his pro day or not even or even the combine. So Justin Ross, before him, the next closest guy size wise is Drake London. Justin Ross is a guy that is a 6'4" big wide receiver, giving you a lot of size and decent speed, right? I'm taking him. Give me Justin Ross.
Oh, that is it. We forgot about him.
And that was my last pick of the second round.
Christian Watson still out there.
Bryce Hall goes, and then we finish up the draft. This is it. Let's write it down.
I can't imagine Christian Watson doesn't go in the high second. This is a solid draft.
Honestly, would you be upset with this draft?
No, not at all.
We've addressed the defensive end position. We've addressed the defensive interior with a nose tackle, a dominant one at that. We've got a tight end that we can build around even more, because I don't know if Hooper's going to be back or what happens there. And you've got a guy who could develop into a number one.
Yeah.
We've improved our team.
If that's the way it goes. Yeah.
With 3 second round picks.
Yeah, I think if a draft went that way, that means that they were able to pull a Calvin Ridley or someone of that stature.
Right? Maybe. I mean, I think let's let's copy this image. Did you write this? Did you write this down in your notebook? Make sure that we have it saved. So far, Devontae Wyatt and Trey McBride.
Can you screenshot that and text it to me, and then I could put it in my notes just like that?
Absolutely.
All right.
Let me know if that came through.
Let me see.
Sending now, it says.
Not here yet. Still not here yet.
Cool. Well, I have a copy.
There it is.
You got it? Awesome.
Yep.
Excellent. So, hey guys, I mean, in terms of what we did in this draft, I got to tell you, I know this it may not be the craziest thing in the world, but if we ended up with 4 guys in the first 60 picks, and we ended up with guys like this, that is a transfer. You got to believe that if 50% of them hit to be solid pros, it's a win. Yeah. And what did we give up? Nothing. And I think I picked up
locked in.
And I picked up a third round next year. Yeah. So we'd have 3 third-round picks next year. You know? So
AW, I agree. I didn't even notice that he wasn't off the board. Christian Watson from North Dakota State. You've seen him, Mike.
Yeah, he's another guy that's been being talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, and he had a good week too.
All right, guys. Well, you have it. What was that? Is that our 4th or 5th?
That
4th?
is. Let me see.
You started, then me.
2, 3.
Then you, then
4.
me.
Yep.
It's our 4th one.
Wait. Yes. No,
Who was our first pick? Who was the first guy that we drafted?
Burks.
Olave?
No, Olave. So
Olave.
This is our, because we went Olave, Sanders, and Falele. That was the first draft.
Yeah.
Second draft was Burks and Wyatt. Third draft was Burks, Wyatt, McBride, and Moore. The fourth draft was last week, which was Pickett and McBride. And we've done 5 weeks in a row of mock draft. That's how long the Browns have been out of the playoffs. And
it's been evolving a little bit. The draft has been evolving, but still we're still sticking with, we need a defensive end, we need a defensive interior guy. We've gone, I think both of you and I, our hearts are with Trey McBride, but I don't know if the Browns are going to be willing to do that. Yeah. And then we need a wide receiver. This is the first time we got Justin Ross. So, which I would be happy with. I think he's a big guy. We need size at that wide receiver position, right? So I like that. I like him just for his measurables, if nothing else. But yeah. So, well, hey guys, both Mike and I have had a very long week, and we've got some rest to catch up on. But thank you guys very much for joining us, for being with us. I appreciate you all. Thank you, Ray, for firing me off of the job. And thanks for sticking with us, guys, in the off season. We will be back same bat time next week, right around 7:15 for the Wednesday show. Mike, I'll give you the final word.
Go Rams.
All right, go Rams. All right, guys. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Everybody stay safe, make good decisions, and we will see you next week. Go Browns.
See you guys.